New Landing's Job Chat is brought to you in part by the Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future, and by the EBS Group with an unparalleled background in Oracle solutions and services.
Social media has become a standard in our lives. However, as job seekers, are we using the media to our advantage? What are the to-do that we should know about? That is the subject of today's Job Chat. My name is Hector Silva, along with Don Apple.
Hector, looking for work is a full-time job in itself. So I'm kind of anxious to hear how those social media to-do lists will help us in our job search.
We have with us today Bethany Spilde, and she is going to tell us about these to-do lists. Welcome, Bethany.
Thank you both.
Bright, creative, passionate, and founder of Social Buzz Media, Bethany is Kansas City's leading expert on social media, relationship marketing, and brand strategy. The driving force behind many successful businesses' strategic social media plans, Bethany leads by example, delving into the culture of each client to help them form and deepen relationships through specifically targeted social media campaigns. Bethany, it's good to have you here.
It's great to be here. You guys are great. I've been having a great time just talking to you and visiting.
Good.
Well, let's continue the fun.
Yes.
And let's talk about to-do lists. I know that we use them in our everyday life just to get tasks done, but how does a job seeker use a to-do list?
You know, a to-do list is a great starting point because online and when you're looking for a job, you get overwhelmed. You know, of all these resources, whether they're websites or offline networking groups, and it is a full-time job. And just like when you do have a job, you have a certain task list of things that you need to get done to be successful. So to dive into social media, one of the very first things I recommend is just doing a Google search, knowing what's out there. So I call it check yourself out. You know, not only in front of the mirror in the morning, but also online, so you know what the online image is.
What are you looking for when you Google yourself?
That's a great question.
And does it hurt?
No, it's a pain-free process. You go on there, most of the time it's pain-free, and you just type in your name, first and last name, put it in quotes, so then you get the exact phrase, and see what comes up. It could be a white paper that you wrote a long time ago. Hopefully there's nothing negative out there, but if there is, then that's just a red flag for you to start getting more positive things put out there. An interesting statistic is the top 28% of search engine results on Google are social media sites. And
Yes.
I mean, when you think about that, social media sites are free. Mostly free, I should say, because some of them have paid memberships. So if you're on sites like LinkedIn, that naturally just puts you at the top of your Google search. And over 90% of recruiters are going to Google to do a search on all these applicants.
And you're not talking about just in the local area.
Oh, it's, yeah, all over. It's not just Kansas City, it's across the globe.
So when you do Google yourself, you do want something to come up, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That's a great point, Hector. That's one of those things that is negative to a recruiter, is if they do a search for your name and you don't show up. Because do you really exist then? I mean, in this world, you do need that online presence.
So it is to your benefit to make sure that you have done some white papers or put a blog out there or done something that is going to capture or be captured in that search.
Right.
So if you haven't done it, you should do it.
Exactly. You're catching on quick. Let's see, some other things that you could search for. You can set up a Google alert, in which I'll get to, and that's part of your to-do list that's coming up.
Okay.
And one thing I do want to mention, as we're going through this to-do list, if you have that pen and paper in front of you and you're writing down notes like crazy, you can ease up a little bit, because I do have a booklet for everyone. I'll give you my email address at the end of this program, and just email me for that booklet. And then that will save you some hassle if you're running or driving right now.
Sure.
And we'll just keep it
Driving
safe.
and writing don't mix very well.
No, bad combination. And don't be texting this to yourself either.
I've heard you say create a plan. How does one create this plan, and what does that plan entail?
That's definitely the next to-do list. Create your plan after you know what's out there. Maybe part of the plan goes back to making your online image more appropriate or creating an online presence.
Okay.
Another part of it would be just the core of what is your mission? This is such an opportune time. You know, a lot of people, they think this is horrible, that they've lost their job, they're in transition, they're a little lost. But it's such an opportune time to actually assess, who am I, what are my strengths, what do I really want to do? So getting that game plan together, whether you work with a coach or you just start asking those questions to yourself, either one. And then start thinking about what your top 5 companies are. You know, ideally, where would you love to work? You know, if you've done a study of...
So start narrowing it down immediately so you have a target to go for.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then it's not as overwhelming, and then you do have a game plan.
No, and like we said before, we're talking about social media, which is nationwide, worldwide, actually. So if you don't narrow it down, you're going to be just going all over the place.
Exactly. And once you do have that target, you can aim your plan, and certain things just start coming into your lap or right on your path. That's a whole nother lesson on psychology and how the brain works, but...
Yeah. And besides, you want to be able to control what you want instead of just taking what comes up.
Exactly.
Okay, so
then-
we've Googled ourselves. We have created our game plan. What's next?
The next thing would be to be at the top. Like I mentioned, you know, the top 28% of search engine results are social media sites. So start deciding who are the people you want to connect with. You know, you just narrowed down the top 5 companies you would like to approach. Now start thinking about who are those individuals? Where would they be hanging out online? Would it be Facebook? Would it be Twitter? It'd probably be LinkedIn, most likely.
And you're talking specific names.
Specific names, you can search for them, and most of the business community is on LinkedIn these days, so that's a safe bet just to go there. And we'll talk more about that.
So when we say social media, things like Facebook are definitely something that you use on a social basis. But LinkedIn is more of a business media than a social media, would it not be?
That's a good point. Okay, I use the analogy that LinkedIn is more like the boardroom. You know, you kind of have your power suit on and you have your resume out there and you're networking with other business professionals. And then Facebook used to be more like a cocktail party. You really get to see people, a whole nother side of them. It's a little bit more social. It still could be some of your business contacts because you have Christmas parties and everything. Sure. But now Facebook's becoming more like the golf course. So it's becoming more on the business side, but it's still it's more on the social side. So if you can use those visuals, that usually helps
a lot.
people.
Yeah, well, let me know when you get to the beer and the recliner.
And, yeah.
So you're suggesting that LinkedIn is where you want to really be as a job seeker, or where you want to put your efforts of your job search.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. And part of what you're saying is that in there you can come up with names that you can actually follow up with.
Correct.
Okay. What if you don't know who those names?
It goes back to the Google search. And we'll go more into that in the second session in LinkedIn, second and third session. We'll focus in on LinkedIn. So we can talk about our profile and then how do you actually communicate and reach out to those people that you're not connected with yet.
Okay, well then let's back up. Okay, we're on LinkedIn. What do we do?
Oh my goodness, there's so much that you can do with LinkedIn. And as a job seeker, you're going to want to get your profile 100% complete. And there are certain things that you can do, and we'll talk about all those little details of your profile that will help you rise to the top in people's searches for certain keywords.
We'll have a segment just on that in a future program. But how about building your network?
Building your network, that's a very important piece to anything in social media, and even offline, anything that you do in life. And once you have the position, it's about the people you know. You know, it's people helping people. That's what networking is. Or friends helping friends, even more so, because you're getting to know each other. So you just never know who one person knows and what opportunities they know of. And the same thing goes for you, to be willing to help other people in the same.
It's a give and take.
Exactly.
So this is a place not only where you can reach out to friends, but you can meet new friends.
Correct.
Or hopefully they will be new friends.
Yes. You guys are catching on quick.
Okay, and you used the term, not on the show yet, but where you said you meet free research assistants, and that's got me a little confused. What do you mean by that?
Okay, yeah. The next thing on that to-do list is meeting your free research assistants. And by that, I mean your Google Alerts. So when I say Google Alerts, that means you're setting up these alerts. You go to google.com/alerts. And just like you did a Google search for your name, you can get notified every day or once a week whenever that phrase or your name comes up in the search results. So it could be in the news, it could be on blogs, it could be in videos, whatever it might be online. And that saves you time, so you don't always have to be going to Google to do your search.
So in Google Alerts, you can put in the criteria that you want to be alerted about?
Correct.
So it doesn't have to be just your name?
Right. So other examples that I would recommend people doing are the companies that they want to possibly work for.
Sure.
Because then they're alerted whenever they're in the news. Maybe there's a press release on something that they're doing in the community. And that only adds more value because if you read the article, maybe there's a contact person and you can say, hey, congratulations on this. And you're creating that extra personal touch that sets you apart from everyone else. And you had a free research assistant that emailed it to you saying, here are the headlines for this topic or this industry. If you want to, state, our next point is being studious. So during this time, you want to just be a student of your art, your craft, whatever profession you're in or seeking to go into, if it's something different. So when you do have those alerts, it helps. So
is Google the only one that has that type of alert?
There's some other ones, but I think Google's it's the best one in my opinion. And there's also a Twit alert. So if you're on Twitter, or even if you are not on Twitter, you can still set up one.
Oh.
So then you can be notified of those same keywords and phrases that are on Twitter. And there are thousands, hundreds, millions of conversations going on Twitter. To me, that's like the lunchroom. It's all this chatter, all these different tables talking. So, yeah.
So once you get that Google alert and you get that information, what do you do with it?
Like I said, it's just going to be in an email format, and you'll have all these different headlines. So
Right.
it'll say it's in the news, or if it's a blog, it'll have different sections. And what I do is just glance through it and see if anything catches my attention. You don't have to read every single one. It's just letting you know.
But there is a follow-up to some of them?
Yeah, if you see one of the companies, maybe there's an individual that got honored for some award, then you could actually look for that name on LinkedIn and just connect with them. Just a little nice note saying, hey, I noticed your name mentioned in this article. Would love to learn more about your company sometime, or whatever. It's just a nice people being people.
You're not asking for a job. You're not searching for a job. You're just simply making that connection.
Exactly.
Great way of doing that. Excellent.
And very unintrusive.
And it keeps it real and authentic. And I guess a few other things about being studious. There are so many blogs out there, industry specific. And once again, you can go to Google and do a blog search if you'd like to. And there's so many different resources. And it'll be in that booklet if you want to email me, like I said.
Oh, okay.
So instead of, or in addition to, maybe going to additional training, you are going out and doing your own training of yourself, keeping up with the latest in the industry, finding out who in the industry is doing things that are new to the industry or changing the industry in some way. So that this way, when you start going to your interviews, you're still up with the latest in the industry.
Exactly. And you might even impress them because you'll be teaching them something, because if you're listening to podcasts within your industry, you can bring up those things in conversation and be like, I listened to this one podcast, and it just shows that you're so aware of technology and the resources around you. different blogs. If it's alltop.com is a resource that you can look through some of the top blogs based on subject. There's there's so much out there. Just do a search and find your favorites.
It's got to be impressive to anyone you're talking to that if you've been out of work for a while and not having been in the industry on a day-to-day basis, that you still know where it is at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
It has to show them that you have the initiative to stay up with everything.
Exactly. You're staying fresh into the industry. And even when you are reading some of these things online, the expert blogs in your industry, you can start leaving comments. And so then it adds your thoughts to it. And all of those are picked up by Google.
Okay, so are we talking about groups out there that you can also have conversations with and ask questions, and people that are actually out there working at this point in that industry that you could actually establish a not only a connection but a relationship with over Google?
There are
or
LinkedIn,
over the social media, I mean.
There are LinkedIn groups for that, which are phenomenal, and we will cover that in another show.
Okay.
But what I'm referring to is blogs. And, after you read an article, there's a comment section down below.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where you can ask more questions or add your 2 cents, even refer people back to your own blog and say, hey, I also talked about this section of this article or this blog post, however you wanted to word it, but just adding more value. Instead of saying great post, you're saying what was great about it and maybe providing another resource.
One of the things that comes to my mind on this to-do list, you've given us some great ideas, and particularly this blogging and this alert. How much time would you recommend putting in on this?
Oh, that's a good question. And it all depends based on, how much time do you have and how much time do you want to dedicate? Because then you can start choosing. That goes back to your game plan.
I guess I would weigh it with benefits. Is it a greater benefit for me to be doing responding to alerts and checking alerts as opposed to simply sending out resumes to job postings?
It's a great question, and everybody has to find what works best for them. Mm-hmm. Based on their communication style, what they feel comfortable with networking. And once you ease yourself into social media, some people already have a presence online and they're familiar with blogs and leaving comments. Other people might be just starting out fresh, and all of this is new to them. So it's one step at a time, and that's why this checklist of to-do things is so valuable.
That's a valid point too, that the better you get at it, the more efficient you become, so it won't take as much time as opposed to someone just getting started. They may have to dedicate a little more time to it just to get familiar.
Right.
Okay.
But going along with what Don was saying, this is something that you have to do on a regular basis. You can't just do it every once in a while. So you have that greater to-do list of, fixing that door or doing something out in the yard. But as part of that greater to-do list, then you have to fit this into your schedule also.
Right, and that's a great point. Because once you do set things up, and because you only have to set your alerts up once, and then you'll continue to get the emails. Your research assistant's off on her assignment every day. But it's like brushing your teeth. You want to maintain your, big smile and everything. So it's the same thing online. You need to maintain that presence. So staying top of mind by doing status updates and reaching out to people, meeting new people, reading different blogs, commenting.
Make that consistent and okay.
Commenting. Is it important for you not just to read the log but to comment? Does that give you more presence if you do that?
It does help with your presence because you can put a link in there. They'll ask you for a website, if you do have your own website. And that's something that I didn't even think I would mention today, but you can get your own domain name with your name and have your resume on there. And there's also a website called about.me, and that's where you can fill out, all of your social networks that you're on, and then it's all on one page. So people can go to that and check it out and what your mission is, what you're looking for.
And again, not everything works for everybody.
Right.
You have to be able to do some trial and error to figure out what is best for your job search.
Yes, and even like what you enjoy doing, because I know for my friends, family, and everything, I really enjoy Facebook personally. And then on LinkedIn, I am just fascinated by some of the connections I've made and how it just started off with just a light conversation going back and forth. And now we're great friends, and the opportunities that have come, across both of our paths, that we've helped each other out.
So this sounds to me like something that you don't stop once you get a job either, that this is something that continues throughout even when you are working.
Absolutely. And another thing to notice on LinkedIn is all of the Fortune 500 companies have at least one executive on there. And close to 50% of the people on LinkedIn, I think it's like 46%, are decision makers in some capacity at their company.
So it is a harvest out there waiting to be picked.
Right.
And you just have to be able to go out there and know where to go and how to do it. And you just learn that over time, I imagine.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I guess the final point to make is, in all of this, stay faithful and finish strong. I know if you don't start seeing results right away, sometimes people are quick to give up, but still maintain, still reach out to people, follow through, follow up, meet people offline. I know we're talking about social media and you're like, why are you telling people to go offline? But that's part of our society and relationships. Only so much communication can happen online. Your mind has to go offline so you can meet completely and have that communication 100%.
Very valid point.
And so true that personal touch is needed at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have been here today listening about to-do lists with Bethany. Bethany Spilde is somebody you need to put on your to-do list. And if they wanted to contact you to do that, where could you be reached?
My website is socialbuzzmedia.com. My email address is just the letter B at socialbuzzmedia.com.
Okay, very good. And of course, remember that all of our job chats are available to you anytime on our website. That's newlandingsjobchat.org. Just click on the Past Chats button.
And as always, until we meet again, may your days be full of health, happiness, and success.